Today I'm joined by a great guest from Faire, who I'm so excited to chat with. Before we dive in, hi, I'm Therese, and you are listening to Let's Talk Shop, the podcast for product based business owners who want to grow their wholesale with confidence and consistency. In today's episode, I'm speaking with Anne-Claire Morel, International Marketing Manager at Faire, the online wholesale marketplace connecting independent brands and retailers across the world. We're talking about trends, how they're spotted, what's driving them, and how you can use this insight. Keeping up with what retailers are actually searching for and buying makes such a difference to your sales. And with the amount of data that Faire gathers from hundreds and thousands of buyers and orders, they have an incredible overview of what's happening in the market right now, from trending colors to products to seasonal moments. So we'll be diving into what's being searched most ahead of Christmas and what categories are performing well, and the small but powerful things that you can do to make your product stand out to get discovered by more buyers. So let's jump in. So welcome, Anne-Claire. It's so lovely to have you here on the podcast. I would love for you to start by introducing yourself and what your role is at Faire.
Well, listen, thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm Anne-Claire Morel, International Marketing Manager at Faire. I get to spend my time exploring how technology can help independent brands and retailers grow and connect with their customers. And honestly, it's one of the best parts of what we do at Faire. So essentially, I work across our international markets, keeping an eye on what's trending and what's really resonating with small businesses. So I'm really thrilled to join you today in the Small Business Collaboratives podcast to dive into our Christmas trends for 2025 and share what's inspiring buyers and makers this season.
I'm so excited to hear all about it. But before we dive in, if anyone has missed what Faire is all about, can you kind of give a very quick overview about what Faire is and how it supports independent brands and retailers?
Yeah, of course. Great question. So Faire is the leading online wholesale marketplace where independent retailers discover and order from emerging and established brands. We remove the traditional pain points several of your listeners might be used to. So think things like high order minimums and complex shipping. So we replace this with tools and programs that helps both the brands and the retailers succeed in.
Amazing. Since we're here to talk a little bit about trends, how do you define a trend on Faire?
Oh, that's a really good question. So we look at what's being searched, what's actually selling, and we layer in what we're hearing from our buyers and brands. So I would say it's part data, part gut instinct, and part gut instinct from being close to the community, essentially.
Are trends based on search volume, talking with retailers, or what has actually been bought on your platform?
Yeah, so it's actually all of the above. Trends can show up in search spikes. So think like tartan being up 28% year on year. But we also watch what's flying off the shelves and what buyers are telling us that they're excited to buy.
And does it make any difference? Because you're a global business now, right? Do you make a difference between trends across Europe or America or Australia or other regions?
That's a really good point. And yes, you're right. Like we literally just expanded Fair into 15 new countries. So we
Wow.
are very much taking over. But definitely to answer your question, what's trending in the UK might look a bit different from France or the US. But I think this year we're seeing a lot of shared love for nostalgia and gifting, for instance, across the board. So I do think some of these trends are global.
And that is so interesting because I suppose probably because of social media, I think it's all more global as a society now. What trends are you seeing right now, particularly since we're coming up to Christmas? So what kind of trends are trending?
Oh my God, yes, let's dive in. So, this year's Christmas is about comfort, tradition, and a sense of indulgence. So, think Vintage Christmas is making a comeback, so it's actually up 21% versus the Scandi style from last year. We also have the little treat culture that's going really strong, particularly in the UK. And shoppers are starting, oh my God, earlier than ever. Think about it that way. It's 1 in 5 that starts shopping for Christmas in October and half of them in November.
Wow. I think every year it feels like we see Christmas in the stores earlier and earlier, but I love Christmas, so I'm here for it. I know some will disagree. So what are some of those products that you think are going to be popular for Christmas?
Yeah, well, listen, there's a strong return to the cozy classics. So really think like the ceramic gingerbread houses, wax warmers by Lisa Angel, for instance, which is one of our brands on Faire. But you also have your classic like royal tartan lamb's wool blankets, and then you also have some very beautiful vintage Christmas photo books by Hoxton Mini Press. I mean, this is really the kind of items we're seeing at the moment. We're also seeing novelty do really well. So things like Eleanor Balmer's retro Santa mug and something different Nutcracker candles, which are really pretty.
Ooh, that sounds very fancy and nice. What are some of the product categories that you are seeing being searched for at the moment?
Yeah, so without much surprise, home and gift is huge. Candles, mugs, decorative items, but food and drink, games and beauty treats, especially with this idea of the little treat, are also picking up. And especially as shoppers plan to, to entertain or to fill their stockings essentially before Christmas.
You mentioned little treats a few times as a trend that is popular right now. Can you tell us a little bit more what that is about?
Yeah, sure. So the little treats trend is all about shoppers indulging in like small, joyful purchases. So things under the radar of big ticket spending, but that still feels special, essentially. So according to our research, 18% of shoppers now buy more than 5 little treats a week. And if I remember correctly, in the UK, I think it's about £20 a week that goes towards these little treats. So these aren't full on major gifts. They're tactile, they're fun, affordable little things that you can pick up as an extra when you do your groceries or when you're just shopping for clothes, let's say, like a sweet add on at checkout, a mini gift for a friend, or something you treat yourself with.
I love that. I feel like I am very much into giving myself little treats. I don't know about you, but I do also think it goes hand in hand with the romanticizing your life and, all this being kind to yourself. So that's so nice to hear. Are you seeing any colors being more popular than others? Or is that even how retailers are searching on the platform? Are they searching by color? Or do they mainly search for the product first and then perhaps they pick by color later?
That's a great question. So I think in the context of our Christmas trends, obviously think like tartan and vintage tones. So we're looking at reds, greens, golds. These are really trending at the moment. But in general, I would say that buyers usually start by searching for the product type, and then the color filters can help them narrow down once they're browsing.
And are there any search terms or trends that has surprised you and the team?
I mean, yes, Nutcracker is searched 2.5 times more than Snowman this year, which we didn't expect. Also,
Yeah.
vintage Christmas searches, as I was saying earlier, are up by 21%. So people are really craving a nostalgic vibe.
That's so interesting. Also, I feel like maybe I buy into trends a lot, but I feel like similar. So that's nice. Can you think of any examples on how we can make that practical for brands and retailers who might want to buy into this trend or use the trend to sell more to their retail customers and therefore help both themselves and their stockists?
We'd say lean into the visuals. So use lifestyle photos to tell the story of a cozy vintage Christmas and call out these trends in your product titles and tags. So, nutcracker, tartan, little treats. It will essentially make it easy to find.
And Faire has some great marketing tools that brands can use in the background. Which ones would you recommend that brands prioritize and use?
Honestly, I would say start with Fair Direct. Like it helps you grow and reward your customer base. Then I would say set up promotions for key periods like November and use badges like bestseller or new arrival if they apply. That's really helpful.
And how about filters? Because this is something that comes up a lot when I speak to brands. And of course, I speak a lot with kind of smaller brands. And that's also probably who mainly listens to this podcast. But we do also have retail buyers and shopkeepers who listen. So I suppose talking about filters can be from both sides. So one as a shopkeeper buying on Faire, what filters should they be using to make it easier to buy? And why should they use them? And for brands listing on Faire, how do buyers use filters? Are there any that are more popular they should try to capture when they set up their product listings? Sorry, it's a lot of questions in one.
No, no, and yet very good. And you know what? The answer is pretty concise. So I would say for buyers, you use filters like ships from to find local brands and also low minimum to manage your budget. There's also my personal favorite is the Top Shop filter because generally brands included in our Top Shop program are really stellar in their customer service, in the products that they sell, and have really high reviews. So that's also a really good place to start. For brands, well, remember buyers use these filters. So keep your shipping info and minimums up to date and tag your products properly and make sure that your page is the best it can be and that your customer service is the best it can be as well.
How about the minimum order filter? Because it's something that comes up even more in conversations that when I speak to brands. And I understand, of course, that retailers want to reduce their risks and therefore no minimum order or very low minimum order is great for them. But it doesn't work for every brand because if they are in a fulfillment center, so like a 3PL, it might actually be cost prohibitive if they have a low value products to offer no minimum. So how important is that? And what are your thoughts on that filter?
Retailers love flexibility, especially around key buying moments like Christmas. But brands need to make it work financially, and I totally appreciate that. So, something we often say is if you can't do no minimum during these big buying periods, consider setting it really low, especially for new customers. So, maybe just for the period, set your first order minimum in your backend with a very competitive amount so that you will actually incentivize new people to try your products.
What would you consider a low minimum order to be for Fair? I appreciate it's probably different for different product categories, but what is a low minimum order for Fair?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So anything under £100 tends to perform well. Even £50 or £75 can lower the barrier and actually make you more discoverable. Like, again, the best way to think about this is put yourself in the shoes of an independent retailer. They are not going to be able to buy £200 worth of greeting cards. It's just too much for them for a first buy.
And can you tell me a little bit more about keywords? Because, of course, it's a search platform. So, how important are keywords to be discovered on Fair?
So very is the short answer. They power search on Faire. So if you're not using the right keywords in your listings, buyers simply won't find you. I suggest that you pay a very close attention to product titles, your description fields, and any other field that captures some sort of open text.
And what's the best way for them to optimize their listings with keywords? Should they do it every season? I know we talked a little bit about trends and what's being searched for at the moment. So, should they change their keyword seasonally? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so I think my first piece of advice is, again, think like a buyer, think like a retailer. What would you type in? Like, update your titles and tag seasonally. So, for instance, for example, at Christmas or Nutcracker or stocking filler, and do it now because retailers are actively buying at the moment. And refresh quarterly at a minimum. My piece of advice would be to keep a spreadsheet, the same keywords almost quarterly, and do a refresh every quarter.
I love that. That makes it so much less overwhelming, I think, to just reuse and then maybe just pepper in some, depending on what's coming out in the trend report. We mentioned Fair Direct, but how do you become what is Fair Direct? How do you become a Fair Direct retailer?
So, Fair Direct is an incredible suite of tools that we designed to help brands grow, really grow on Fair, with Fair, but also grow their business in general. So all they have to do as a brand, you just share your unique Fair Direct link with your customers. When they order from you through that link, you keep more of the sale and they get better terms. So frankly, it's a win-win situation for everyone. I would also recommend you add the widget to your website. And don't worry, customers like you and I will not be able to order or even create an account, but it will really help you capture more prospects and convert more new clients.
I always tell the brands I work with, put it everywhere in your pitch email, in your catalog, on your whatever material you give out at a trade show, because then you need to meet the retailer where you are. And of course, there's a benefit that you don't get if they came through you, you don't get commission. So it's a huge benefit to share that link to the retailer as well. If someone is listening and would like to see these trend reports that we talked about, where can they find them? Can we maybe share a link down in the show notes? But if they're listening and they want to look right away, where could they find them?
Really good question. So we'll definitely pop the link in the show notes. But you can also head to the Fair Forecast landing page and just download the report today. It's super simple. You just need to add your email address.
Amazing. And any last piece of advice that you'd like to share with listeners that we didn't cover today?
Well, I guess Christmas planning starts earlier than ever, so don't wait. Like, it's really tap into the trends, keep your listing fresh, really, really important, and lean into what makes your brand giftable. I would say, and maybe that's my marketing bias, but I think a great story still sells the best.
I love a good story, of course. Thank you so much for sharing so much valuable information. I'm going to actually also type this up and put it on the blog so we can include some pictures from the brands mentioned, which I'm very excited about. So thank you so much, Anne-Claire, for taking the time to come on the podcast and chat with me today.
My God, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Therese.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We will be back with another episode next week. And I hope that you are finding this season really valuable. If you have any ideas of who you would like to hear from next, do drop me a DM on Instagram or an email. I always love hearing from you. And of course, I also always love seeing where you are tuning in from. So please feel free to share on social media and tag me. I'll see you next week.